surge from last week on the number of cases. And I hope that doesn't portend anything significant, but it seems in the world that we're living in, and what a wicked world it is. I mean, if you've been following the latest news on a number of sort of social issues, we live in interesting times for sure. But I want to welcome all of you to what is a culmination of what has been a long, long year. And and perhaps we can describe it in different ways. And I'll let you ascribe whatever adjective you want to the year. But it certainly has had its challenges, but there have also been those moments that have been just completely gratifying. And I think it really is, those moments are reflective of all of you who are sitting in these chairs and engaging with us virtually in a virtual space. So I want to thank you for being here, all right, because I know it's the end of the year as well. So much is going on. You're wrapping up your grading, and I know that a number of you have commitments throughout the summer, but it's important that we find times for all of us to gather and see each other, because that's I think critical to maintaining and building community. So I want to thank you for that. Now, as I look at my picture over there, we should have done sort of a pre and post on what you see here. Because, as I look in the mirror, I'm seeing, a lot more gray. And it's interesting because somebody lied to me when they told me that being a dean was like being Benjamin Button. But that's not true, right? You're not going back in time. But I'll tell you, it's been a humbling experience, but one that I've treasured for the last 9-10 months that I've been in this role. It's been an absolute pleasure to be here. And this institution, I kind of sense what I was coming into. But the more I learn about who you are and the work that we've done, that every day I pinch myself and say, yes, you are the dean of this fantastic college. We have a lot more work to do and a lot of more goals to achieve, but I'll tell you what, you're working very hard, and for that I'm deeply appreciative. Okay, so we have a lot of information to get through in this presentation, but I did want to offer just a very brief preamble as to some of the challenges and opportunities that may be before us as we transition into the next academic year. And I know that deans and chairs, it's yes, I think the end of a cycle, but that cycle is continual. And so we're thinking, what are the ways that what are goals that we can establish? Where are areas where we can improve in our performance? And I mean, if we look at this past year, with the new R1 designation, that in itself has triggered a lot of changes, right? And I'm seeing those manifest in very different ways, because now, you're R1 faculty, and not that signifies anything different in terms of traits and characteristics, but also other institutions note this, and it just kind of elevates the currency here in all areas, whether it's research, teaching, and service. That's a big moment, and I believe that those of you who are sitting in this room, and I know it spans years, some of you have been here, I think, in the very early stages of this college, when it was kind of in its nascent form. I'm looking at some of these people nodding, yeah, that's me. And there were some that kind of came in through kind of maybe that second phase where, words like rigor and extramural funding, those were becoming kind of the words of the day. And so we've evolved quite a bit since then. I mean, this university is, 50 years old? Is that correct? 1969. You know, so really it's a short history compared to other institutions. And so what I want all of you to do is to give yourself a hand for all the incredible work. And for those of you virtually, do a virtual clap, okay? And so I want to say congratulations to all of you, because that wasn't easy. It took commitment. It took a willingness to shift the culture to one of really thinking deeply about the work that we're doing. Those particular programs or fields of study where we are really challenging the status quo. And we need to continue to do that. Now, in the President's message, I will tell you, and President Amy has been a staunch advocate for academic freedom and tenure. And I think I should mention that, and I shared this with the chairs yesterday, that if you all remember that the controversy around the flag, the come and take it flag, that was, I think, part of a tradition during the football games. Well, the initial plan was to take that to a committee, and that the committee would generate a list of recommendations. But the president said, no, I'm going to take a stand, and he unilaterally made the decision to end that tenure. I'm sure you do. What is the reason? What is the primary reason for this? I'll tell you. It's to protect you and your ability to conduct research that may be unpopular, but maybe not next year, maybe not 5, 10, 15, 20 years from now, will yield valuable social outcomes. And we've seen this play out. I mean, at a legal level with a Supreme Court that issues unpopular opinions, but decades later, we surely understand the fruits of those decisions. But it's important that all of us engage in this advocacy for tenure and explain it. You might even have students who are probably asking you, what does tenure mean? Don't shy away from that conversation. It's critically important, okay? But we also need to be aware of the politics. What I've heard so far in terms of, and this is President Amy, who's very tightly connected. They're telling him that the Senate is discussing this, the idea of tenure, but the House has not moved. And what they're telling President Amy is they don't anticipate that the House is going to move on this. So right now it's just really the Senate. So to me that's a very encouraging sign. But you should also know that groups out there, special interest groups that are leaning one way, are generating the capital and the support around issues like tenure, around critical race theory. Okay? So you need to know that this battle is far from over. But we also have to be somewhat thoughtful to our actions. Because as I've heard, there are already kind of quiet, indirect threats, and I don't know if I would classify them in a retaliatory nature. But some, I think the greatest fear among leaders is that it will lead to loss in funding. And right now we're already dealing with some environmental shifts, some hemorrhaging in our student pipelines. I don't know if all of you are aware, but the one, and I wouldn't call it the golden goose, was our community colleges here. But I believe, if I remember this correctly, and I'm sorry I'm looking at you as kind of my data checker, my fact checker, like on CNN. I think we're anticipating almost a loss of 4,500 students in the ACCD, the Alamo Community College District System. And that's for the university in terms of the transfer pipeline. That's pretty significant. And we're also seeing some other indications that are troublesome, where we have a number of those who are in our education, our teacher prep track, that are deciding to just go degree only and not finish the certification track. That also has some dire implications for us. And not to mention the professional implications in terms of attrition and whatever else happens when these teachers are not prepared adequately. So there's a number of other challenges, and I'm not here to cast a cloud or a pall over this, but you need to understand the reality. This is what it is, and so the times are going to be a bit challenging, but my pledge to you is that we will work together. Okay, and I will keep you informed as these issues unfold. Okay, now I'm going to move to some happy news, right? We've had just wonderful achievements in the college, and we have our department chairs and our associate deans who are here with us, who are going to share a lot of that very promising news within their presentations. So what I'm going to do is move on in the presentation, and we have a lot to share. And so this is going to be an inclusive presentation. It will involve our chairs, our associate deans. And so I'm looking forward to sharing what we've achieved in the course of the year. Next slide. So we're going to talk first awards and honors. All right. So for some of you, I hope it was quite a surprise, but what we're trying to begin is a new tradition for really honoring excellence in different areas in the college. And I had the opportunity to perhaps surprise some of these individuals with visits, either in front of their class or in program meetings of various kinds. But one of the honor traditions of higher education is really celebrating excellence in the college. And I was very proud to spend a few moments with each of these individuals: Dr. Kalenic Craig, Dr. Fees, Dr. Horowitz, Chris Kibbe, Dr. Lack, Dr. Merchant, Dr. Thacker. And we had a number of other awards here. The President's Distinguished Diversity Awards, Dr. Flores, Dr. Lindahl, Mike Versenga, Yuma DeBook, Dr. Farias Sokolowski, Dr. Garcia, Dr. Son, Sawyer, Kleiss, and Kimberly Pettis. Folks, again, we have a lot of great work happening, but we do really need to recognize and acknowledge, the work, the tremendous work and commitment that's happening in the college. So congratulations to all these individuals for being nominated. You are truly award winners here in our college, and it's just a pleasure to work with you. Next slide. And we have others as well here: Undergraduate School Excellence. This is a great picture. Each received a certificate. And again, this is another area that I believe also involves tremendous sacrifices on the part of faculty and our staff in really enriching the experience. And so I want to congratulate Joanne Jones, who's with ALPS, if she's with us. Our outstanding GAR, we have Drs. Heather Trapal and Felicia. Pardon me. Outstanding graduate mentor, Dr. Eliana Alanis in ILT. And Dr. Curtis Brewer in ALPS. And last but not least, I don't know why I looked at you, Dr. Duffy. This is Madeline Duffy, not Thelma Duffy. But Madeline Duffy, who's in counseling for excellence and in being a teaching assistant. And, you know, and this is interesting because teaching assistants can often be overlooked, right? And so we really need to recognize excellence at every level of the system. So I'm glad to see that. So congratulations to these folks. We had a retreat for our staff members last week. During this event, we talked about commitments to ourselves, commitments to excellence, commitments to workplace civility, really emphasizing respect and dignity. And you know, I thought it was a very engaging, had to be submitted, and I'm pleased to report that Margarita Gomez and Marisol Johnson were our award winners this year, our inaugural award winners. And so each received a beautiful plaque, but also their names will be placed on a larger plaque that will be posted publicly. I'm thinking probably the third floor of the dean's office, somewhere in that, to our staff who were involved in the selection process. But I also want to acknowledge those who were nominated. This was a very difficult decision. Each has excelled in different ways, whether it's in the BSc, whether it's through advising. So I want to mention Nikki McGovern, Teresa Peña, Joanne Jones, and Molly Miller for being nominated. Super individuals. I'm very proud of them. Small print? No, come on. All right. So yeah, so I'm not going to read all the names here, but you can see here that there's a range in service. But to me, this signifies there's a larger message here is commitment. You know, throughout, you know, the good times and the bad. It's starting to sound like a Lionel Richie song, but you know, I want you to notice here, because there's people who have devoted an incredible you know, amount of their life to this institution. And you know, I look at, for instance, Dr. All right. Note to Laura Earlywine. Let's double check on those numbers. Dr. Stacy Johnson, promoted to Assistant Professor of Practice in ILT. Dr. Nancy Seidensticker, promoted to Assistant Professor of Practice in Ed Psychology. Wonderful for her. Dr. Jennifer Swoyer, promoted to Associate Professor of Instruction in ILT. Is Jennifer here? No, okay. Doing observations, good. Yeah, all right. And Dr. Brandon Tate, Assistant Professor of Practice in ILT. Please give these individuals a hand. And I know, and so, you know, to me, I think, you know, what we're seeing here, I think, signifies the merit and the achievement of our faculty. And it's important that we really celebrate our FTT faculty who work so hard and really draw on their wealth of experience, right, and practice. And so, you know, for me, my goal, and historically, and I think this is not just at UTSA, but at other institutions, you know, it seems that sort of the level or the prestige is different between FTT and tenure track and participating in cyber. But I will say that I will mention those individuals at our fall meeting, okay? And so, thank you. Next slide. Okay. Some new staff. Again, and to me this, again, is in sort of the same vein as our FTT. What we've achieved as a college wouldn't be possible without the hard work, the flexibility, their ability to solve problems and find solutions and provide valuable context and nuance. These individuals are critical to the success of our college. So I do want to welcome each of our new staff members, Rosa Arzola Hernandez, who may be here, I don't know, Don Carrington, I think I saw Don. Hi Don, welcome. Michelle Ellis, Cassandra Lopez, Pedro Macias, Don Morales, thank you Don, Norma Jean Morales, and looking forward to what the future holds for this Women's Studies Institute. So I do want to congratulate Dr. Sonia Aliman, who will now become the permanent director. Dr. Lennis, did you want to add anything?
When we do the regs?
Oh yes, you'll do more, okay. Did I steal your thunder? I'm sorry if I did, okay. Okay, next slide. Okay, we had another search, and this was a search for a chair's position in Department Chair for Educational Leadership and Policy Studies. And this was a very, very difficult choice and decision. The committee worked incredibly hard, and all the candidates were just stellar. And I'm just proud to announce that Dr. Alonzo Flowers has agreed to join us here. He's currently at Drexel, but he will now be the department chair for Educational Leadership and Policy Studies. So congratulations to Dr. Flowers, who I think may be tuning into this call from cyber. Dr. Heather Trapal, who is with us today. Now this too was a very difficult decision, but Dr. Trapal has amazing experiences. Currently, you're a leadership fellow with Graduate Studies, correct? And you have prior experiences serving as a GAR in counseling. You've helped spearhead in important, whether cooperative agreements or collaborations with other departments. You're an outstanding scholar. You have a national reputation. And, you know, yes, you rose, and I just see a bright future for you in this role. And I know that everybody in here and in cyberspace agrees that we're just excited about what the future holds under your leadership in this area. So congratulations to you, Dr. Trapal. Okay. So at this point, we're going to move into our update section. I'm looking at you because this is your slide. So, and so we'll have reports from different departments, from our associate deans. Here we go, Dr. Langman.
Reported on many of the things that I have in a summary here, so you'll get a little bit more details. But these are a few of the many highlights in graduate studies this year. 2 doctoral students with prestigious external awards. This is the most so far, but so let's keep moving in that direction. 2 applied that I know of, and 2 were awarded. So very, very exciting. We have 14 who will walk the stage on May 12th, so I'm really proud about that. I'll see many of you on the 12th of May, next Thursday, who are hooding individuals. We currently have 268 doctoral students. We have the largest group of doctoral students in the college. Something to be proud of. We want to work a little bit to get this number a little bit higher, but per semester. And then we have 60 newly admitted doctoral students for this coming fall. We're not sure yet how many of those will actually come. We're still in the final process of working out some offer letters and things like that. We have a great competitive pool. We've been doing more and more work to try to get our top candidates to come, so I'm really pleased with that. and it's really all to the GARs and department chairs to be doing this work. Okay, in the master's program area, I'm really pleased, and you'll see later which ones. 2 fully online master's programs have been approved. We're very excited about that. We're moving into the 21st century. That's what someone told me when I got a toaster oven about 7 years ago. So the college is really doing well there, and several programs have approved revisions to their semester credit hour numbers that have gone down, and we believe this will really help with our recruitment without interfering with the quality programs that we're producing. And then finally, I want to highlight the CLL doctoral program. We have, for this coming year, $276,843 worth of external funding just for doctoral students. So I want to thank the 6 PIs who have really worked hard not only to secure funding, but also to be sure that we're including doc students in that funding. And I think that's it. I think that's it.
Thank you, Dr. Langman. It's very interesting. I think, Dr. Duffy, you had shared a story where, from Academic Affairs, I think it's maybe one of their bulletins, and to me, it's like it's a great source of pride when I hear that 2 of our programs, correct? I think it was mental health counseling and school leadership, ed leadership, have yielded the most number of graduates, right? Or one of the type 5 producers of graduates, right? And that's 2. I think there was a list of 5, and we comprise 40% of that. And I think that's wonderful. So great job, and great job to Dr. Langman for helping lead some of these efforts that have resulted in very positive outcomes. Next slide, please. Okay, now I want to invite Dr. Belinda Flores, our Associate Dean of Professional Preparation, Partnerships, and Undergraduate Studies.
I just want to congratulate the people who have moved, especially when I see some of them, I go, I hired them as a teacher. I hired them as associate dean, so I'm excited. We always take pride in those we have hired, and so excited to see them be recognized, but also having, the years of service. So I have one slide. It's not going to work because it needed my key, but go ahead and go to the next slide. And I just want to make sure we also recognize the work we've done in the college, especially in educator preparation program. We have been recognized as a vetted residency program. We were 1 of 15 when Texas A&M
Next slide. Okay. Research updates from our Interim Associate Dean for Research, Dr. Emily Donner.
Thank you. Thanks. Good morning. Good to see everybody in person. You can go ahead to the next slide. So all I wanted to do today was give you guys some updates from the past fiscal year and comparisons over the past 3 fiscal years. And so you can see kind of how we're trending, and then tell you some things that we've been working on, just to give you a sense of where things are looking, or how things are looking for the future. So this first slide is just what it says, proposals by year. So you can see over time, and these are all in May, so it's kind of a fair comparison. But you can see over time we've really built, especially the number of proposals, but also the total number of dollars that we're requesting, which is what we want to see. And from 2020 to 2022, which is during COVID, I think it's really impressive that y'all have done this. Like, it's amazing. When I looked at this, I was like, well, they have to know. So this is really good news. Okay, you can go to the next slide. And this one is the actual awards that we've received. So, of course, when proposals trend up, awards are going to trend up too. But you can see in 2020 we had about 13, and these are research awards, up to 23. And if you look at the amount of funding, we're double even where we were just last year. So this is amazing in terms of our external funding. So I thought that was amazing. So things are looking really good. Okay, next slide. And then this was just the hit rate. So awarded versus proposed. And you can see, I thought this was another just interesting thing to look at in terms of how many proposals and awards, so proposals versus awards, and then also the total amount we're receiving, so requested versus received. And the 2020 number is higher, but that denominator is a lot smaller. So, you know, this is pretty impressive, the 47% hit rate. So excellent work to all the faculty, and I hope that we can continue to provide support from the research office that will allow these trends to continue. Go ahead to the next slide. Okay, so the purpose of all this though, and the reason that we do it, is the community impact. So I just sat down, I reached out to a couple of friends in the college, but this is like just off the top of my head. These are all of the community partners that we have. There could be like 10 slides of this. And so I think when you look at the trend in terms of funding and the number of partnerships that we have, the impact is huge. So using our skills and expertise to not only obtain external funding, which looks great for the university, but also impact all of these different community partners in really transformative ways is what we want to continue to do. So just shout out to y'all for all of this amazing work. Okay, next slide. Okay, and then I also wanted to congratulate our co-ed faculty research awardees. So we have Dr. Marie Kirkpatrick and Dr. Hannah McNall, both from Ed Psychology, and they submitted, we had awarded just these 2 proposals this year, but thank you to the Research and Development Committee for helping me review those. But I'm really excited to see the outcomes from these studies. Okay. Okay, so I just wanted to give you a couple of other updates from the past year. So some things that we've been working on and that I'm always interested to hear feedback on. So we did a little redesign of the Research and Development Committee, which was developed several years ago. So it's been in the works. But we're taking more of a listening and then also kind of troubleshooting approach. So we're inviting speakers, stakeholders from around the university to come speak to the Research and Development Committee, and then trying to funnel any issues that you're facing as a PI through that committee. So keep those folks in mind for that. We are also from Red Key actually, they are initiating these faculty surveys, so be on the lookout for those whenever you have a grant especially. They'll send you a survey for your pre-award and post-award services, and they are actually reviewing those with those staff and also with us. And so they're taking it really seriously, so make sure you provide feedback there, because that kind of alerts me that there might be something that needs to be worked on or things that are going really well also. And then of course our transdisciplinary efforts are always a push from the university, but many of your projects are already transdisciplinary in nature. We saw the community partners, we're working across departments, across colleges, across universities, so trying to elevate some of that work and continue in that way is is great. But if you have any ideas or support, or you have like a big idea you might want to go for, please always reach out to me or E1 or anyone on the research team to develop those further. Okay, last slide. So these are going to be the areas of focus just in the short term, in the near future. So I'm trying to, while I'm in this role, look at this position as really a service position. So thinking about what your needs are as PIs, how can I make your lives easier, streamline some of these processes while also elevating the work that you're doing. And then in that same vein, identifying any needs that you might have and ways that we might be able to provide supports for that. So whether that's workshops or monetary support or resources, anything like that. And then of course I mentioned already streamlining the post-award processes. It seems like most people from those surveys are pretty happy with pre-award, but post-award we still need to work on. Increasing faculty recognition, which you've heard from other associate deans, and ways to incentivize the work that you're already doing. And lastly, facilitating those transdisciplinary and community-based projects that y'all are already engaged in. So those are my updates. It's wonderful. Y'all are amazing researchers, and I'm happy to be here to support you. So thank you.
All right. Dr. Bonner, it's clear, has a very ambitious vision for research in the college. And I've had numerous conversations with individuals in this room, about where we want to go research-wise. And but that actually, to be honest, when I was reviewing the CVs of faculty when I applied for this position, I was like, oh my gosh, these individuals are already R1 when I was looking before the R1 was announced. I mean, it was just amazing to see the caliber of scholarship happening in this college. And I'm going to brag a little bit, Emily, on the research, because if you'll permit me to do that, I get these updates, what are they, like every couple of weeks from the Vice President for Research Office, and so they send me these updates. And right now, we rank third among all colleges, just behind the sciences, right? Engineering and science, in amount of revenue generated through extramural funding. This is amazing. And so sometimes when I'm in the doldrums of my work, I just pull that up and say, yeah, okay, it brings a smile to my face. But really it's a testament to all the hard work that's occurring. And wouldn't it be great to have a system that really provides targeted support, right, Emily? We've had those conversations where, if there's a project that involves an area of study that you're interested in, how can we connect you with that proposal or call for proposals? And we're trying to develop that kind of very efficient, effective model so that and build capacity too, right? Because I think sometimes grantsmanship can be just a scary exercise because there's so much involved. But I do want to give, as you said, Emily, it's you, E1, and Michael has played a critical role too. So congratulations to all of you. Also, my other associate deans, okay? So they do a lot of the background work that we don't see, but they're instrumental, their work, their dedication. So I do want to give a hand. Please, if you would, join me in giving a hand to our associate deans. All right, now we're going to move to our department chairs. Okay, so I'm going to have Dr. Sanchez come up, who, by the way, have you all seen the posters out? Yeah, okay, she's famous. She's literally the face of UTSA, so here we go.
Okay, thank you for that. I want to acknowledge all the people at home who have been having trouble right now, but that have really hung out to really get to hear all these announcements. We're about halfway through the program, so I want to thank you all for blowing up our phones. We're trying to get your message across, so please be patient.
Oh, okay.
All right, so I just want to acknowledge all the people at home still sticking it out with us. So we're going to now talk about the successes in our different programs, and alphabetical order, we go first. And just as a segue, I want you all to know that in this past year, we've had teams of professors earn over $5 million in funding. Wonderful. So these are all the highlights. I want to just talk about, for example, the Selfies team, because that's sort of the acronym of the grant with Drs. Kristen Lindahl, Jorge Solis, Becky Wong, and Bedretin Yazan. Dr. Solis also won another same type of NPD award from the Department of Ed, and he's working with NAT, who was selected one of the UT's first editions of the Teaching and Learning program. She received a grant for that. Dr. Becky Huang was also given an additional grant, an extension of the work she is doing with the National Institutes of Health on her work in looking at bilingual children and studies in schools. Dr. Alex Mejia has, had many accomplishments, but two that we're super proud of are he has been named best paper in 2 different journals of engineering education. Wow. One of them is really given to those folks who are working on creating a potential, a transformative impact and a potential for change in the field. So this is actually really cutting edge work that he is doing. One of our new faculty members, Dr. Jean Fontaine, has won not 1, not 2, but 3 dissertation awards from national research organizations. And he also won
we have 2 professors who got outstanding awards. We had Dr. John Harichan, who won the Outstanding Professional Writing Award from the Texas Counseling Association, which is, again, wonderful. And the Outstanding Teaching Award last spring from the Southern Association for Counselor Education and Supervision. So they are our 2 newest faculty who have started off, really hit the ground running in all these wonderful areas. So, we also have, I'd like to just acknowledge Dr. Derek Robertson, because we've just wound down, yes everybody, we just wound down just an enormous grant through the Department of Justice, where he was the PI, I was a co-PI, Dr. Elias Zambrano was as well, in 2021, which is pretty amazing. We have over 65 clinical mental health counseling internship partnership sites. We actually host the school counselors across the entire area and the outlying areas within our department. Dr. Brenda Jones is the facilitator of that. We have 12 school districts that we partner with. We have over 400 current students across our 3 programs. We're a 60-hour program, so time to graduation is an extra burden, and yet we seem to do it. So just this year, we've graduated 95 students in our master's program, and 9 of those doctoral students that we talked about earlier. So I believe that's it. It's just again, so glad to see everybody in person, and Department of Counseling, thank y'all so much. There you go.
Okay, so at this point, that's Act 1. So what we're going to do is take a small intermission. Don't go too far. I'd say how many minutes? 5 minutes? 5 minutes? 5 minutes, and then we'll get started, okay? So a little break, 5 minutes. Please, there's food and drink here. Please enjoy yourselves. Get started. And so I have Dr. Rodriguez, our department chair for ALPS here. And again, many great things happening in this department under Dr. Rodriguez's leadership, so I'm going to pass it over to you.
All right. Pass the mic. Here we go. Okay, next slide. Thank you, Laura. All right. Well, hey, everybody. Obviously, lots of good things happening with ALPS. So yeah, it was stated earlier, we had some awards. Obviously, Curtis Brewer got one of the Outstanding Graduate Mentor Awards. Joanne Jones, actually today is Joanne's birthday, so people want to say Joanne's birthday. Oh, that's right, it's Vicky's birthday. Yes, Vicky's birthday. Awesome, so Joanne not only won the Outstanding Grad Program Coordinator Award with the grad school, but then as you saw was also an honorable mention with the College Staff Award. So thank you, Joanne, for all you do. So with ARA News, Dr. Van Lack began her term about a month ago as the, well, not almost a month ago, chair of the ARA, Grassroots Community and Youth Organizing for Ed Reform SIG. So thanks to Dr. Lack for her national service. Dr. Vanessa Sanson was recently named the Intercultural Development Research Association IDRA Finance Fellow. So we're very excited to have her in that position within community-based IDRA. Then Dr. Dana Garciola Serrano, 2022 AHI Faculty Fellow. So just excited to see her represented in that national club, you can say. Thank you. So then with our students, so proud. So at ARA, we had two of our doctoral students, Josh Zaldua and Elisha Reynolds, who represented ELPS and UTSA at the David L. Clark National Research Seminar. It's a prestigious seminar with Ed Leadership. Only 40 students nationwide in Ed Leadership are selected to participate. So we're really proud of Josh and Elisha. Then Roseanne and Jasmine completed their first year as UCA Barbara Jackson Scholars. The UCA Jackson Scholars is a wonderful mentoring program that pairs doctoral students of color who want to be faculty members in the future and pairs them with mentors from outside their institutions. So Roseanne and Jasmine finished their first year, and then Josh, the same Josh who got the Clark Award, completed his second year. So proud of these students and how they really represent us well. So we've got David Thompson in the back there, and he and Curtis Brewer are the co-coordinators for Northeast ISD Cohort 5. So they began classes this spring. I mean, we know that ELPS has lots of cohorts, so all of our cohorts are going, but this one began this spring. And so 5 students from this cohort have been selected as principal residents. So thank you, David and Curtis, and all of your work for getting that TA principal residency grant. It's a wonderful way to us to connect with the state. Then with JCEL, we have our editor-in-chief, Dr. Nathan Okielwa, who is here with us today for JCEL, and Curtis Brewer, and then one of our colleagues from the editorial board, Ian Mehta, from outside our institution, launched a podcast called JCEL Jabber. Just, love it. So, look for it on Spotify right now, and just, type in JCEL Jabber. And so it's just a really great way for us to promote the journal, and especially, certain cases that are being reflected. And then we also have special collections within the journal that are posted, etc. And so the Racism in Schools special collection has received the most hits ever. So Sage Publications is very happy with that, as are we. Yeah, so thanks to our faculty. So this spring we are, so I was looking at the earlier numbers where we will have 14 doctoral students in the college walking the stage. 7 belong to ELPS. And then we will also have 5 of our master's students graduating. So just lots of good work happening in the department, faculty working really hard. Kind of like you said earlier, I haven't seen people, face to face. So thanks everyone out there in cyberspace for all the wonderful work you're doing, and thank you. But also before, I just want to take my time for a second, I did want to thank Phil McDuffie, who we had our inaugural College of Education Grow Your Own Leadership Academy this year. So Thelma was the chair, I know Heather was in it with me, Alejandra was there, I was there, Priscilla Prasad was there. And so we do have some of our graduates, I guess you could say. So Nathan and Claudia, right? And then Juan's probably in cyberspace, as well as Claudia Interiano Shiverdecker. So congrats to the inaugural graduates. Awesome. So it's a great way to promote wonderful leadership, existing leadership in the college. And it was a great year to spend with these scholars. Okay, thank you.
All right. Thank you, Dr. Rodriguez. Okay, next, Dr. Nichols for Ed Psychology.
Thank you very much. I'm going to be old school. I have paper, not my fancy phone like my colleagues, so I'll do my best. So I've only been chair, this is my second year, and this is my first year doing this, so I'm going to do my best. Hopefully I hit all the highlights, but certainly there'll be things I miss, so I apologize to my department in advance, but I just want to thank my department. We've had a tremendous few years during COVID, like the college has had, as we've seen this entire time. I just did kind of a brief summary here of some of the highlights. We've received upwards of $2 million in grant funding. A lot of that funding has provided financial support for upwards of about 130 master's students in a variety of ways. So we've done really great supporting our students. We were awarded a second consecutive Department of Ed OSEP grant, the Deep Impact Texas, which is a training grant designed to co-educate teachers of the deaf and school psychology master's students. So that's about $250,000 that supports 20 school psychology scholars over the next 5 years. Another grant went to our school psych and applied behavior analysis group of faculty to do some work with very young children at risk or diagnosed with autism. So we're very proud of that $1.2 million 5-year grant. We've been publishing, particularly our junior faculty are really standouts in publishing in some of the leading journals of their respective fields. In preparation for our PhD program, which is set to start or admit its new first cohort in fall of 2023, we were able to successfully hire Associate Professor Dr. Davis, so we're thrilled we'll be looking forward to welcoming him in the fall. Next slide. I'm going to get back to this is kind of hard to see with the colors, but I didn't know what to provide, by the way, so I'm just trying my best here to provide the best oversight as I can. The Department of Ed Psych has 3 areas. We have school psychology and a master's degree in school psychology. We have applied behavior analysis, and we have educational psychology. These are 3 related but different areas that have different needs, different requirements, different sort of protocols for the types of degrees that we offer. So when it comes to our school psychology program, our cohort and graduation numbers, we max out every year. We always have more applicants than we can admit because of accreditation and a variety of issues related to how many students we can serve. But we have pretty good numbers. We'll be graduating 19 we've graduated 19 this year, fall and spring collectively. The behavior analysis program, those numbers are still a little hard to kind of tease out because the program just switched from a concentration to its own master's degree. So we're really still in the process of developing its own identity, its own pipeline of students. But even in that area, we always have more applicants than we can admit. So it's a very steady stream, a strong group of students a steady stream of students we can enroll and admit and serve. So we're excited about that. Our master's degree in educational psychology is an area of growth and opportunity that we'll be working on in the next few years and working to advance what that degree offers in terms of research skills and our core areas of learning, development, and motivation. We have been able to fund upwards of 24 students to attend national conferences and participate in presentations this year, so that's been wonderful. One more slide, I think. And we've had some notable achievements to highlight here. Of course, you heard about our 2 junior faculties who received the SEED grant, the College SEED Grant Research Award, Dr. Kirkpatrick and Dr. McNall, so we're very proud of them. We also have Dr. McNall and Dr. Castro Villarreal, who are awarded $250,000 from the Texas Higher Ed Coordinating Board for their work. We're especially proud of Dr. Neely, who's just been incredibly active. She was awarded the Cloud Technology Fellowship from the Provost Office. She was awarded the SIF, or the Strategic Investment Fund grant for $250,000, and recently was elected to the Executive Board of the Texas Association of Applied Behavior Analysis. So Dr. Neely's been quite active. And Dr. Thacker, another one of our junior faculty, was the nominee for the President's Distinguished Award in Teaching. So we're very proud of them. But one last word, I really want to give a big shout out to Teresa Pena, our senior admin. She has, she has really made sure I've stayed sane and figured things out, and any of the successes that we've had for faculty or support we've had for faculty is due to her. Her and I work out every day at 6 a.m. and she's been doing it for the last year, been doing it for 2 years, she's been doing it for the last year, so her dedication is quite remarkable. I want to give a shout out to my fellow chairs. We've created quite a wonderful cohort and support system, and that's been wonderful to kind of figure out, well, how do you do this? What's happening now? What are we being asked? And one last word, we are R1 because we have faculty, and I'm going to read so because it's better than tripping over my words. We have faculty that have been incredibly productive. I've been here 18 years. The slide before said 15, but I've been here 18 years. And like many of us in the college, we've all seen an incredible amounts of change and progress. We've all contributed to that, many of us to that. Way before we were R1, many of us coming from R1 institutions were producing scholarship at an R1 clip, and without the normal supports of an R1 institution for many of those years. But now that we're officially R1, I'm waiting for the institution to catch up to the faculty. We need to become an R1 institution in attitude, form, and function when it comes to the support and infrastructure of this university. I didn't realize it as a faculty member, but as an administrator now for 2 years, I've seen firsthand how hard it is for our staff to process simple things like purchasing equipment, hiring new personnel, the hoops we have to go through, the layers of bureaucracy, the platforms that often don't speak to one another, the precious large amounts of times. It's just hard to fully describe what it takes to get things done. On top of it, of course, things keep changing. A lot of times for the better, and there's always road bumps along the way, but it makes things difficult. So with that being said, I just want to thank the College of Education staff and personnel, the BSC, the Dean's Office, all the staff, for all the work you do, for being there, particularly when I have to have last minute questions and emergencies. And I just hope our university continues to strive to catch up and to create an infrastructure that can match the already highly research productive faculty that we have. So thank you, and thank you, Dr. Flores, for surviving your first year, and let's keep it up.
Thank you for those inspiring words and the message, because it's true. You know, moving to R1, yeah, it's created a sort of a shift in expectations, and you know, we need the infrastructure in place, you know, to allow that to thrive, and that's going to take some work. So thank you for those words, Dr. Nichols. Okay, next slide. Okay, ILT, Dr. Anne-Marie Ryan.
It only cost me a little bit. I think we're still good morning? Yeah. Okay. Okay. I brought the big notebook. It's proportionate to the number of faculty that we have. I got the big job. Okay. We've had a good year in ILT. But it's been a couple hard years, right? Yeah. So thank you for being here today, those of you who are here in person, and thank you to all of those who are still with us in the virtual world. And we're going to go to the next slide. We'll see what comes up. Okay, I can see that this room is used to my humor. This is how I teach, folks. This is why they keep coming back. They're like, what's she going to do this week? Okay. Okay. So for our undergraduate programs, lest you think we just go in and keep doing the same thing, we are not. We are really working hard to change things in ILT. We have been working alongside our partners in BBL and the OPPP to work on district partnerships and launching T-class residencies. If you don't know what T-class is, or if you want to know what those are in-depth partnerships with our districts where our students are going to actually get paid to do student teaching. Now, okay, I'm glad you clapped, because yes, that will be paid work, but we have had rigorous conversations about what that means. Because being paid comes with a lot of other trappings. So we've had long, hard conversations about the equity involved in that. Who's going to get paid? How much will they get paid? What does it mean when you get paid by a district? So we've had some pretty important conversations about that. So I hope you understand that we just didn't jump in head first. And so we will continue to have those rigorous conversations with our district partners about that, because that money comes from the state first, and then the districts have to build that into their actual plans. So the first year is going to be easy. It's the following years where they have to bring it in to their own district funds where they continue to pay. So I just stay tuned. Is that the, put that in quotes because everybody's using that phrase now. But we will have to stay on that and really monitor what that means, what that looks like for our candidates. But yes, it's really important that they get some kind of support during that time period, because we have first generation students, we have students who need to work, we have students who have a really hard time finishing and doing student teaching. So that's a really important thing that we need to talk about and share and celebrate, but also with a very mindful eye on that. We've been redesigning the 4 through 8 middle grades and the 7 through 12 secondary education programs. That work will kind of move into high gear both this summer and into the academic year, because next year is an undergraduate catalog year. As I kind of skipped over that first bullet, we will be continuing to refine the equity in education degree that has already been incorporated for the catalog next year, but it will launch next year, and so we want to make sure that that kind of moves without a hitch. Okay, we're ready for the next one. Well, I'm ready. Okay, updates on our MA programs. These were alluded to by Dr. Langman. We have 2 online degree programs now at the MA level, the special education MA and the learning design and technology. So someone can take those degrees fully online. We're really excited and proud of these 2 degree programs that have kind of moved into that space. This was even before COVID arrived. So this is interesting that we anticipated the need and demand for that, and we're hoping that that also results in better enrollment numbers as well. We also moved reduction in hours for several of our MA programs, again, with the idea that we needed to remain competitive because there were a lot of programs out there that had already done this. And so we moved through and got approval for, as you can see, I will not list these out and read them to you. You can read them yourself. And we also are adding a secondary certification degree option to the MA curriculum and instruction with teaching certification. At this current time, it's only our middle grades certification that we have associated with that. We will add secondary. So that's been a dream of some of our faculty for some time, and now we will make that happen. Decades, apparently. So, figuratively speaking. Okay. So that's an update. So we've been very busy on the curriculum design front. So I think everybody settle into some programming. So that would be good. All right, so we'll go to the next one. Thanks. Okay. We have a number of things to be proud about for our students. I think it's also been a very difficult time. We run both undergraduate and graduate programming, and I thought you might want to see kind of overall how many students we work with in ILT. So in fall, we had 47 doctoral students enrolled in the program, and we have a lot of students in there, and we had a dip in fall of 2020, as you might imagine, because as you can see, that was as we were still in the thick of the pandemic. But we rebounded last fall, and we had 17 doctoral students start in the fall of 2021. So that number of 47 kind of bounced back, and it was a really robust number of students that came in that fall of 2021. it's our master's programs that are kind of where our challenges lie. But that's probably most of us in this room are trying to figure out how do we unstick that, right? Which is what we're trying to do with that last slide that I showed you with our master's programs. We're trying a couple different things there. Our undergraduates, though, what is really interesting is that our numbers are fairly steady. And I think Dr. Flores also mentioned that to you, that even though people are worried, they're still coming. They're still coming. And so that number has remained kind of steady. And in fall 2021, we had 1,106 as our total enrollment. And that's kind of, just subtly gone up and down a little bit, but not too much. And I'm going to show you the next slide, which is about student persistence. And this, you will notice, again, if you look at these numbers, what I think is really interesting is from fall 16 to fall 2020, that number of who's leaving is really hovering around 10%, and who returned to UTSA and who graduated, our graduation rates are about the same. It's when we hit fall 2020, again, that semester of COVID is really where the sticking point is. And it's trying to get back on track after that we are trying to figure out, right? So it's where that data looks as we continue forward. And you can imagine now, layer onto that what's happening in schools and in the media and all sorts of things with politics right now. And so we've got a lot that we have to kind of think through and work with our students around. Like, how do we make schools a place that teachers want to be, right? How do we reclaim the profession? And let me just say, this is not the first time we've had to do this. So, let's go.
Yeah.
Been there before. So we'll go to the next slide. Okay, here's some wonderful folks that you all know. Dr. Alanis, as we know, has been awarded the Graduate School's Outstanding Graduate Mentor Award. She's also the chair of the Super Committee. So she is the super chair. She's kind of a super faculty member too. Dr. Kathy Ewalt in the house back there. Awarded the 2021 Council for Learning Disabilities Outstanding Research Award. And Dr. Uchenna Amenaha was awarded the 2021 Scoop Cup College Faculty Award by STAT, which is a state-run science association for teachers, and the Texas Tech University's Howard Hughes Medical Institute Science Education Program. Doctors Crystal Caladet-Craig and Maria Aleja are both getting semester-long UTSA faculty development leaves, so everyone's jealous of them in ILT. And one of our newest additions to ILT, but not to the College of Ed, Dr. Langston Clark, has earned the Ford Foundation Fellowship. I also wanted to note that we have many grant active faculty in ILT. We bring in an exceptional number of that 8 million that Dr. Bonner put up. So I just want to recognize Dr. Bonner, Dr. Caladet-Craig, Dr. Carmona, me, Dr. Ewan, Dr. Adeguin, Dr. Boone, Dr. Ewald, Dr. DeGiulio, and Dr. Feast, all of them bringing in dollars into the college, into this university to make things move and to make sure that everyone knows, yes, we are Research One now. Could we make systems work, like Dr. Nichols said, so that we can do this work well. And I also want to recognize Miss Allison Facha. Who is our admin service officer 1, who came in December, and I am so sorry, Dr. Elenas, because I took her from you. And she came in, and she is making a huge difference for all of us in ILT, and we appreciate you deeply.
You gonna drop the mic or no? All right, great. Thank you, Dr. Ryan. So I think this is maybe our last department, is it? Yes, we'll have Dr. Elenas come up and give us a report on regs.
All right, thank you very much. So yeah, I'm Alejandra Elenas, and I'm the chair of the regs department, and I'm finishing my second year at UTSA, and I arrived here as the pandemic was started. So my first year at UTSA, I spent it in my house. And I think for little by little, I've been meeting in person. A lot of my colleagues, actually, today was the first time I met in person Allison, who I work with, right, Allison? We finally met in person, so. Before I go in and talk about all the successes that Rex has said, I do also want to recognize Dr. Marco Cervantes, who served as the interim chair of the Regs department as his launch. You know, Regs is in its third year, I think, 2 years, yeah. And so he was interim chair as the department was put together, and as the pandemic hit. At that time that they were searching for his chair and for 2 or 3 faculty members. So he was able to do an amazing work and just getting the department going forward, and it's really important to give him credit. So we have had some amazing successes this year, and the one that is that we're incredibly happy and proud about is that we are launching, we got the approval for the BA in African American Studies, and we're starting in the fall. That we have a BA in African American Studies has been work, decades-long work, with a lot of effort on the part of community members who ask for the degree, faculty, staff, students who have been involved in this. So I want to mention a few names, and if I miss someone, I apologize ahead of time. But definitely we know that we have to thank Carla Broadus, who carried African American Studies for a long time. Dr. Mark Perry, who's a new faculty member in African American Studies, who developed the proposal. Of course, one of our newest faculty members and the new coordinator in African American Studies, Dr. Jasmine Harris, and also Dr. Mark Giles, who at one point was also coordinator of or director of African American Studies, and now actually has a joint appointment with Rex and others. Okay, so we did some amazing changes with the Mexican American Studies program, both at the undergraduate and graduate level. So we revised the BA in Mexican American Studies and phased out the, we basically created new categories in cultural studies, history, music, and social, it's actually social justice, not social studies. And one of the things that is unique about our Mexican American Studies degree is that we probably are the only one, if not one of the few, not just in Texas, but in the country that actually has an area of music. And for that, I do want to give special thanks to Dr. Rachel Cruz, who worked really hard in developing our music area. We were able to launch a graduate certificate in Mexican American Studies, and we are our proposal for an MA in Chicana Exo Studies is making its way through all the bureaucratic approval process. So we hope to hear from that soon too, as well. So we can go to the next slide. Okay, so here are the successes of our faculty. We already heard about Dr. Sonia Aleman. That was named director of the Women's Studies Institute. She wasn't able to hear what Dr. Torres said about her, but what he was saying is that she was the perfect candidate to be the permanent director for the WSI. She's done amazing work with Women's History Month, as well as leading an international conference, El Mundo Zurdo, who will take care, be hosted in November. She's also part of the Democratizing Racial Justice Project. That's part of the Mellon grant that we got. She's a faculty fellow, has been working very closely with some of our community partners. Dr. Marco Cervantes has done a lot of, he's also, in addition to being an amazing scholar, he is also a musician. So he has been performing in many community gatherings, but just last week, he organized a convivio in Mexican American Studies in the community in Jaime's Place, and it was amazing. It was really very well attended. Dr. Rachel Cruz received a Rex Research grant, and that we have a Rex Research grant. We do that from the Mellon Grant Research Buyouts, and that's how we're able to support faculty. And she's been traveling to Illinois to conduct research with Aurora Prado, who was the first female guitarron player with the U.S. Mariachi Las Generalas. I became the PA of the DRJ project. Very happy to, so Dr. Jasmine Harris is one of our newest faculty members. As I said, she is the coordinator for African American Studies. She received a Teaching and Learning Reimagine grant, which is doing, she's gonna be doing some team teaching with a history faculty member. And Dr. Silvia Mendoza has received various community grants, but in particular, we were really proud for the West Side Sound Oral History Project through the West Side Community Partnerships. Dr. Mark Perry, he just recently published his work on Black freedom and Black markets, notes on New Orleans, Mascan Indian tradition, and Dr. Liliana Saldaña, which probably everybody of you know very well. She is the coordinator of the Mexican American Studies. She has gotten support from the Smithsonian Institute, and she also got a grant from the Texas Humanities, Texas Humanities grant. This is to support the work that she does with the Mass Teaching Academy. And another thing is that she's also a co-PI with the Democratizing Racial Justice Project. She does a lot of work with our partners, with the Alamo Community Colleges, with the Ethnic Studies Educators Academy. And we can go to the next slide. So through the Mellon grant, we were able to hire postdoctoral fellows as well as teaching fellows. And that's why I want to highlight two of them. Dr. Carolina Arango Vargas has started to she was a guest speaker reviewing a panel discussion on the book Decolonize, Depatriarchalize, the Social Science, Memory, and Life in Chiapas, Central America, and the Caribbean. And she's also has done some work with Universidad Autónoma de Chiapas. And we already heard about that Madeline Duffy got the Outstanding Graduate Teaching Assistant Award. And so she got this award as a Rex and DRJ teaching fellow, teaching one of the introductory courses of the Women and Gender Studies courses. Okay. So I think that's the end of my slide. I do also, one of the things that I want to recognize and among the challenges that Rex has, it is the political climate in which we live, because it affects us all, but in very particular ways. The calling out critical race theory is not just calling out CRT itself, but it's calling out in the study of race, class, gender, ethnicity, sexuality. We also see that there are efforts to go after parents of transgender kids. Most of the books that get banned in schools are books that are written by people of color, particularly women of color. We're seeing also very serious challenges to reproductive justice and privacy, and this is something that's just going to affect all of us. So it affects our everyday work working on this climate, because those are the things that we live them ourselves, and I know a lot of people in this room too. So this, it is important to recognize that, because it's part of the work that we do, but it's partly how it affects ourselves in also a very personal way. And that can also affect the way in which we're able to do our jobs. And it is really important to have the university to recognize what are the conditions under which we're working. That might be different from others. And, but we also know that we do this work because we know that it is really important work, because at the end of the day, all this attacks on whether you think about it's only on CRT or on people of color, at the end of the day, when our privacy is put into question, what is put into question are the democratic principles of which we live. And that is something that will affect everybody. So we can't kind of think about, okay, it's only going to affect those people, it doesn't matter. It's going to affect me. It is going to come and affect everybody, even if we don't think that well. And I want to echo one of the things that Sharon Nichols said, and I want to, is that for me, starting this job in the pandemic and trying to figure out UTSA bureaucracy from my computer, it has not been fun. Okay. And the support that we have as chairs is what's helped me a lot. And a lot of times when I think of like, what's wrong with me? Why I can't understand this? I figured out that there might be a lot of things wrong with me, but it's not necessarily what's wrong with me. It's that things change all the time, and nobody knows what. If you did it one way one time, and the next time you're doing it another way, and it is, it's. Yeah. So it's been very, very helpful to have the support from the chairs. It's just been really good to be able to troubleshoot things, and even sometimes just vent. That's helpful too. And I actually have been without an assistant for the whole semester. So I want to thank Lisa Chavez and Nikki, who have really picked up a lot of the work for regs. And thank you so much. And sorry I don't always answer your questions, and I don't always know the answers. But and also Lisa has been really helpful as we develop our proposals. She helps me a lot with budgets. So it's just been really helpful. So yeah, thank you very much. And I'm really happy that we're starting to have in-person meetings. And I'm just not seeing people, although most of the faculty in my department are right now in the virtual environment, but it is so nice to see people as human beings and not little squares in a computer. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Linus, and I appreciate that very powerful message and reminder that it will affect all of us. These issues that are occurring, that are largely politicized in the media. But I do want to recognize something else within regs, because to me another marker of scholarly impact is when we see it in the media, picked up in the media. And just recently within regs, whether it's Forbes, whether it's Washington Post, whether it's New York Times, whether it's Texas Public Radio, National Public Radio, the research is being picked up in regs. So you have a lot to be proud of. And I know it's happening across departments, but still, we're doing that kind of influential work in regs. So congratulations to you. I will say, please, a round of applause for all our department chairs for all their outstanding work. It's fantastic. And I'm glad you can rely on one another, too. You need a shoulder. And sometimes I look for a shoulder and I can't find one. As a dean, being a dean is sometimes a very lonely life, but that's okay. I enjoy it. It's a great honor to be your dean. But anyway, so that's where we are. So just some final announcements. Do we have this room booked until midnight? No, only 2. Okay. So here we go. Just a reminder. We have our commencement drive. These have been phenomenal. I had my first one in the fall, And you could just tell that the you know the responses, the reactions of those students who are in their vehicles. It's just a wonderful event. It's well attended. It gives you a chance to put a different hat and release your inhibitions. I mean, people are tossing confetti. You know, and it's just a really neat experience, and I love it. You can see the signs. So we really want to have a showing, a great showing when this is happening. So please note the date, May 13th, 2022 at 5:30 p.m. Is that right, Libby? Yeah, 5:30? Okay. Okay. All right. So yeah, we have a strip of, you know, right along the whatever end of UTSA. Okay. And so we will be there. There are tents and there's biodegradable confetti that you maybe have access to. So it's a wonderful occasion. We just want as many staff and faculty there to celebrate our graduates. Next slide. Okay. So let's go to the next portion of the program. And so here at this point, I want to, you know, just recognize the individuals, some of whom are outgoing and moving to other places. Some have 1 foot out and 1 foot in. I know that's being a little cryptic, but you'll soon find out. But anyway, I want to just spend some time to recognize the wonderful achievements of these individuals over not just recent years, but over a span of years. And so I first want to recognize Dr. Flores. As I mentioned, yes, please give her a hand. Speech.
I have a dissertation defense.
Okay, oh, I see, okay. But, you know, really, I could go on an hour for each of our honorees, but it's just been an absolute pleasure, thrill to work with you, and I'm just sometimes astonished at your understanding of a lot of technical issues when it comes to building partnerships, to clinical preparation, to just general academic issues. And I know that everyone in here has recognized that, and it's just an amazing scholar, a colleague to us all, and you know, above all, you're truly caring and authentic in your interactions with each of you. And I know, and I've seen this play out on social media where, you know, you run into a student who you've not seen in 20, 25, let's just stop there, right?
Okay.
20 years, approximately within +1, -1 standard deviation, somewhere around there. And they just say, okay, do you remember me? And it seems like in every instance, you remember them, okay, who they are. And that says something about your impactfulness as a scholar. And it's just, I don't want to lose you. And I know that if you can see me here in Zoom, how are you? Congratulations. Oh, okay. Here we go, Dr. Lane. Yes, let's get our hand. We've got, okay. Yeah. It's just, she's very thoughtful, she's very organized, and so, you know, the graduate studies area has just, it's flourished in large part because of your leadership. And it's just, for me, losing you, I haven't tried to sabotage her at Kennesaw State, but, you know, when I think, because I think that we're conflicted sometimes as deans, because we want to support your professional advancement, but we know the institutional memory that we're losing when people leave. And for all three of you, it's massive. Because again, I'm not going to date how many years you've been here, but it's what, 20-something years more or less, right? 24 years, okay. So I think I share the sentiment here that, you know, you've been incredible. You're doing great work as an associate dean, as a leader. All of you have, and you know, you've been able to balance that with your scholarship, because you're still very active too with grants, doing some of your international work, your NSF commitments. So it's just exemplary work, you know, and I know we're all going to miss you. Okay, so congratulations to you in your new gig. You're gonna do great, and they're lucky to have you. Okay, so thank you. All right, next slide. All right. You know, again, let me provide a little bit of context on this slide, because you know there have been some, you know, decisions that have required sort of a lot of analysis and time and kind of weighing a lot of different aspects and factors. But you know, the childcare industry nationally has been just dealing with numerous challenges. A lot of them are personnel based, because it's really hard to attract and retain childcare personnel. They're dealing with economic circumstances that are market related, and then add to that all the requirements for licensing. And all of this has to be juggled, and sometimes it just has to be perfectly balanced. And so, you know, the university has, we've been in, over the course of 6 months, you know, we talked and we discussed, you know, models to best serve our student parents. And this individual here, you know, during some of the low points during COVID, where she had to rely extensively on a subservice to have qualified teachers in the classroom. There were times where she only had 2 teachers and may have had 60 students. And this individual has really worked hard at maintaining the center despite all those challenges. And in getting to know Dr. Ray, she is so dedicated to children and families, but I know she has a bright future too. But know that this was another incredibly difficult decision. And I know I've used that word difficult numerous times, because just know that ethically, I know that for any one given situation, there are probably 5, 10 different right responses, or possibly even more. And this, see, I'm talking too much. Okay, good. So I just want to say and extend my appreciation and gratitude for Dr. Ray's leadership. So if you're here with us, Dr. Ray, we wish you the best, and I know that you have a very bright future as well. So please join me in congratulating Dr. Ray. I'm at a loss for words because I've known you for a long time. In fact, you and I kind of came into the profession about the same time, and I remember when you and I maybe were on the verge of going into the professoriate. Maybe we met at a UCA conference many years ago, and I have followed Dr. Rodriguez's career because obviously she, rose to the highest ranks within the field, and you're an influential scholar for sure. But you've also been a very staunch supporter and advocate for students over many, many years. In my time here, some of you here in this room, some of you in the virtual world have shared just powerful stories of how you've affected people and how you have literally changed people's lives. You're amongst the kindest people, the most authentic people that I've ever come across in higher education. And not that, higher education can be a very scary place, right? Because, yes, it's moved by productivity, it's moved by, it's relentless. But there are a few occasions where we can stop and recognize, that having you lead this department for this time, we all benefited from this, and you led during probably one of the most difficult times historically within higher education. So I appreciate you, I appreciate your leadership, I appreciate everything that you have given to this university over many years, and I know you're going to continue to give more in different ways, but just know that, I just appreciate everything you've done. So please, a round of applause. So I want to open this up for any comments that you want to share about any of our honorees here. I'm sure that you've had an experience, or you have some words that you want to share in terms of the impact that these individuals have had on you. So please feel free. So, okay. Dr. Thompson.
Can I use my teacher voice?
Of course, yes.
The people on YouTube.
Oh, the people on YouTube.
Yes, okay, thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Dean Torres. And I'm so grateful for the way that you finished up this presentation today. It's important, I think, to everyone to recognize the quality of people that we get to work with on a daily basis. Having been a department chair and an assistant dean now for the last 4 years, I've had the opportunity to work with every person that has been recognized. And we are blessed in every sense of the word to be able to work with the folks that we have just recognized here today. I've worked with each of you. I worked with Juliet in my time as assistant dean, and Belinda and Mariela, and I am grateful for the opportunity to have done that, and I'm also grateful for your leadership and your friendship, because ultimately when you walk out of this place, and we're all going to walk out of here someday. I've still got 19 years to catch up to Dr. Horowitz, but I'm gonna try my darndest to make it. But what you walk away with are the relationships, ultimately. Those of you who've been teachers, administrators, you know that we walk away with the relationships. And I'm grateful for having had these relationships. I want to say a special word about Mariel. I cannot tell you how much it's been, how gratifying it's been to watch you come to UTSA and grow. You're the first female in our department to go through the entire tenure track, from assistant to associate to professor. You have shown up every day with the same attitude, with the same positivity, with the same care. Your 37 doctoral students that you have chaired is legendary already. And I want you to know, and I think I speak for my colleagues in the department, how much we love you, how much we appreciate you, and how much we value you. And we know that your future has always been bright, and it remains bright, even after today. But I want you to know how much respect I have for you, and that our faculty has for you in leading during this difficult time. Dean Torres, thank you for that.
Well, I know Dr. Flores stepped out, but I also want to acknowledge Dr. Langman, who was the mentor to me as a graduate student here. She was one of my advisors. And Dr. Mariela Rodriguez also when I went through the leadership program. But Dr. Flores also, one of the words that I can think of, and I'm speaking as a student, as a graduate, other than being an assistant professor here. I've known Dr. Flores since like 1991. I was an undergraduate student. She was my BESO advisor when I was a BESO president. My kids were like maybe 3 years old. They're 30, 31 now. So that tells you my age. But you know, I graduated. She called me back. Let's come back with the support of BBL, the BBL Familia. Got my master's. So this is not about me. It's about that she was there every step of the way, and then she was my dissertation chair. And she literally sat me down, and I think she's told this story with Margarita and said, don't let her move from here. She needs to finish. Get her phone. If her district is calling her, she's not to answer the phone. And week after week, month after month, even year after year, she has always been there for her students. So she is a mentor, una mentora de corazón, a true teacher. And so I just wanted to say that on behalf of all the students that she's impacted, along with, you know, all the other professors and scholars and so on. So I just wanted to say that. I know she stepped out, but I really wanted to take the time to thank her because it's been like, I don't want to say how many years, but it's been a long time that she's been doing this, and she continues to do that even with our undergraduates and our graduate and so on.
Thank you.
I came to UTSA in 1981. We were 8 years old. there were about 8,000 students. I came from an R1, as Dr. Nichols has and others in the room have. And I was in amazement over the size of the school. I came from a university, the University of Minnesota, that had and still has 60,000 students. And here I was at this little farm school with 8,000. Every single professor I spoke to said, don't worry, we are going to grow. We are going to be the most stellar university you can imagine. I said, I have one question. Can you do research in this place? I was groomed to be a researcher, which I am. And they said, oh, don't worry. I had no idea what the bureaucracy that has been referred to by Dr. Nichols would be like. I'm a survivor. But I don't want to just talk about me. I think we have an incredible dean with us. Dr. Torres, Dean Torres, you will be a wonderful leader. Everything I have heard our dean say has resonated with what I believe an extraordinary university can be. I believe in UTSA, I believe in our faculty, our students. I came from the west side of St. Paul, Minnesota, which was largely Hispanic and Jewish. And when the dean who hired me said, well, how do you think you'll fare here? I said, well, it's like the west side of St. Paul. So what I want to say is, I thank our dean, who has been here a very short time, for the leadership he has provided in such a brief period. And I have every faith in our dean and believe that he will continue to build our college and our institution, and that UTSA will be an R1 on the map nationally and internationally. I hope everyone will offer the dean your input and guidance and look to him for the leadership that he has brought with him to this position. Thank you for an extraordinary year-end report. It is the best I have ever seen in my 40 years here.
And let me remind you that who I am is because of you. And I stand on shoulders here. I've known this gentleman for a very long time. Him and I do similar research, right? We're crazy enough to go into education law. But it's, you know, the Mariellas and the Langmans and the Floreses and the Guerras who I've learned a great deal from. And, you know, this is who I am. And I just appreciate everyone in here. And I'm here to serve you. And that's who I am. Anybody else? Because we're running just slightly over our time. Dr. Langman.
I'm trying to make it short. 24 years. I can't believe it. It's bittersweet to leave. I'm super excited about my new job. I know it doesn't look like it, but this has been my family, BDL.
for 24 years. And the college, ever since it became a college, 2010, I think, something like that. What I learned here in terms of relationships, hard work, and advocacy is what's going to take me, is what I'm going to take with me to Kennesaw State. And you won't get rid of me. I got 4 more doc students that I got to cross the finish line. I've got another year on a grant. We've got another grant, or 2 grants we're crossing our fingers on. So I'm hoping to build a connection also between Kennesaw State. They are a rising R2. So I'm starting the journey again to R1. And very, very excited about bringing that minority serving institution into the light, much as a lot of people in this room and at this university have done for UTSA.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and if you want to know anything about courses,
Yeah.
ask for Chris.
Okay, so we have some tokens of appreciation for our honorees. So if you would come up for a photograph and to receive this nice gift. Dr. Flores. All right. Okay. So let's give our honorees one more round of applause. I invite you to stick around. There is some sugar-free treats in the back. Okay. Please stick around, enjoy the fellowship, and thank you all so much for attending. I'm so excited about the future of this college. We're just performing at a high level already, but you know, we're going to shoot for the stars. So for those of you that are off doing research in the summer or leaving, I wish you safe travels, but thank you. Take care, everyone, and thank you for your hard work.